My friends, please take your seats. Please also turn off your electronic devices or place them in their least offensive mode, which is generally off. Good morning. Welcome to our service of remembrance and thanksgiving. As we gather in this place and at this time, we might remember being here years ago, learning to be grown-ups then or now, assuming that has happened at any point along the way. We might remember the lessons we learned in our classrooms, or we might not remember a single word. We might remember the dorm room conversations, the dining hall debates, the late-night sessions over everything and nothing. The good times, the hard times, the joys and the sorrows, all in this place. And here we are back many years later, here to remember those we knew and those we have lost. May our memories be a testament to their lives and a gift for those of us still around to share them. Let us now join in singing together. It is a hymn, number 40 in the red hymnal in front of you, Morning Has Broken, number 40. Please be seated. For our readers, the readings are all up here for your convenience.
At the twilight, a moon appeared in the sky. Then it landed on earth to look at me, like a hawk stealing a bird at the time of the prey. That moon stole me and rushed back into the sky. I looked at myself. I did not see me anymore, for in that moon my body turned as fine as soul. The 9 spheres disappeared in that moon. The ship of my existence drowned in that sea.
This Summer Day by Mary Oliver. Who made the world? Who made the swan and the black bear? Who made the grasshopper? This grasshopper, I mean, the one who has flung herself out of the grass, the one who's eating sugar out of my hand, who's moving her jaws back and forth instead of up and down, who's gazing around with her enormous and complicated eyes. Now she lifts her pale forearms and thoroughly washes her face. Now she snaps her wings open and floats away. I don't know exactly what a prayer is. I do know how to pay attention, how to fall down into the grass, how to kneel down in the grass, how to be idle and blessed, how to stroll through the fields, which is what I've been doing all day. Tell me, what else should I have done? Doesn't everything die at last and too soon? Tell me, what is it that you plan to do with your one wild and precious life?
We Needed Fire by Susan Stewart. We needed fire to make the tongs, and tongs to hold us from the flame. We needed ash to clean the cloth, and cloth to clean the ash's stain. We needed stars to find our way, to make the light that blurred the stars. We needed death to mark an end that time in time could mend. Born in love, the consequence born of love, the need. Tell me, ravaged singer, how the cinder bears the seed.
A broken dream, where do they go, the butterflies?
The snow of yesterday that fell like cherry petals is water once again.
Fall, plum petals, fall, and leave behind the memory of scent.
Now as a spirit I shall roam the summer fields.
Full autumn moon, my shadow takes me with him and returns.
I borrow moonlight for this journey miles.
A reading from Ecclesiastes. For everything there is a season, a time for every matter under heaven, a time to be born and a time to die, a time to plant and a time to pluck up what is planted, a time to kill and a time to heal, a time to break down and a time to build up, a time to weep and a time to laugh, a time to mourn and a time to dance, a time to throw away stones and a time to gather stones together, a time to embrace and a time to refrain from embracing, a time to seek and a time to lose, a time to keep and a time to throw away, a time to tear and a time to sow, a time to keep silence and a time to speak, a time to love and a time to hate, a time for war and a time for peace.
Please stand for the responsive reading. Katrine will be leading us, and then you will respond with the appropriate part.
A reading from Psalm 139, verses 1 through 12. O Lord, you have searched me and known me. You know when I sit down and when I rise up.
You discern my thoughts from far away. You search out my path and my lying down, and are acquainted with all my ways.
Even before a word is on my tongue, O Lord, you know it completely.
You can be
Such knowledge is too wonderful for me. It is so high that I cannot attain it.
Where can I go from your spirit, or where can I flee from your presence?
If I ascend to heaven, you are there. If I make my bed in Sheol, you are there.
If I take the wings of the morning and settle at the farthest limits of the sea, even there your hand shall be, and your right hand shall hold me fast.
If I say, surely the darkness shall cover me, and the light around me become night.
Even the darkness is not dark to you. The night is as bright as the day, for darkness is as light to you. Did you all want to climb up here at some point? About 35 years ago, give or take a day, we were here. Here, dressed in black robes and funny hats. Some of us were perhaps even in this room, though others probably slept in. Which is understandable. It was a busy time, and there were so many things for us to do. There was so much ahead of us. The service this morning is about thanksgiving and remembrance, two separate but related ideas. In order to give thanks, we must also remember, calling to mind the gifts and the blessings for which we are grateful. And when we remember, when we look back over the years, there will often be much for which we are thankful. We give thanks this day for those who are now gone. Those classmates and friends, those we have known and those we have loved. We give thanks, and so we must also remember. And there are good reasons to gather here in this moment, but there are no good reasons for that long list of 62 names in the back of your order of service. Too many of us have died, and far too soon. Any one of those names would be worthy of a long eulogy, one filled with heartfelt stories and funny anecdotes about college and life, love and loss. Each of them was at least worthy of that. But there's not enough time to do enough justice to any one of those names, let alone the many names that we have before us. So we gather to remember together, each of us recalling those stories and those anecdotes to mind and to heart, here once again among other old friends and classmates in a place we once all called home. A place we come back to this week to celebrate what we had here, and for this one moment, at least, to recall what we have lost from this place. When I look at this list of names, I have that feeling of loss. I knew a few of those who died, and even two particular close friends who died over the past 5 years, Tasha and Anor. And then when I wrote that last night, I thought, it's really unfair that I get to stand up here and say the names of the two people who I was dear to. So, right now, I will give you the chance to say the name of a person who you are here for, or if you're not here for anyone in particular, look at the back, pick a name, and say their name out loud in this moment. So that sense of loss that we have in these cases, in these friends, these families, these old boyfriends and girlfriends, these roommates, these classmates, it's personal. We knew so much about them, each of them in different ways. But for many of those names, sadly, I didn't know them at all, well or otherwise. I did not know their stories, their hopes, their dreams, their silly ideas, their grand speculations. I realize it would have been impossible for any one of us to know all of the people in our class that well, to grasp everything that they were about, everything that they hoped to be. And yet it's still a loss. It is a lost opportunity to have gotten to know and to cherish these men and women as they were in life. It was a loss for me, it was a loss for others. But for some of you, it was a joy. It was a joy even now that you may sit here in sadness. It was a joy because you had the chance to know them, to love them, to share your plans, your hopes, your fears, your frustrations, to get together and solve all the world's problems on a dorm room floor, to stay up all night debating things that mattered or enjoying yourselves perhaps a bit too much until the early hours of the day, to hope and to dream, to break down and to build up, to weep and to laugh, to mourn and to dance, to seek and to lose. For a time with these men and women, these friends and these loved ones, we were all blessed with the possibilities standing before us for career and accomplishment, for family and for love. And we were blessed with their presence and good company. And so we gather now to remember what we know and to remember how much there was to know. Each of us in this way has a responsibility. We bear a trust. We knew these men and women, some of us a little and some of us a lot. So we must go on remembering them and sharing who they were throughout our lives with each other. And that responsibility includes something else, something you might not think of at a memorial service. We have a responsibility to give thanks for and to remember those who are here with us, the friends and the loved ones in our lives, and maybe sitting right here in this room. That is also a trust and a gift that we share, and it is a blessing. At a reunion, there are maybe times, that initial urge, that hopefully fleeting inclination to see how you measure up. Who's rich, who's not, who's successful and less so, who is bigger in stature or bigger. In the older reunions, by the way, I am told, they don't do as much of that. At the 50th and beyond, there really isn't much of that. There is less jockeying in the accomplishment derby, as I once said. Fewer efforts to sort out who is winning at life, whatever that could mean. The focus of the reunions becomes more about the relationships, about family and friends, perhaps children and grandchildren, about who they love and who have loved them in return. What made them happy through it all. Life is somehow no longer a list of things to do, but a realization of how to be. Just be. Through those relationships, through those lights of love and friendship, concern and care, through those connections come the meaning we might have been searching for all along. Through those connections made here and elsewhere, kindled and fostered, remembered, and perhaps even restored. As one of our classmates who has recently died, Elizabeth Wurtzel, wrote, "Would peace be mine at last? Would the calm that I've been waiting for all my life finally get here?" Well, looking back over the years, that was perhaps a lot to ask at the age of 21. So what about now? Would peace be ours at last? Would the calm that we have been waiting for all our lives finally get here? What about right now? I think back on our time here together decades ago and the passing years since. It's a strange thing to gather together from across the world into this one place for this one time. To be a community of greatly different people who nonetheless shared a common identity for that brief span, only then to return to the world, changed in many ways. Yet here we are again together in time and place, if only for a brief while. It is a strange and wonderful thing. And I have imagined this as if our lives were woven together like threads. This image has always stuck with me. Threads linked by chance and purpose. Some of these threads, they come together again and again, here and elsewhere. Others met just for a short time long ago, only to separate, never to cross again, perhaps until this very day. We often become tied together, these threads of ours. Look at any one of those threads and you will see it twist and turn, colored gold or silver, shaded darkly or shining brightly, perhaps changing from time to time. In our own lives, in our narrow and limited perspectives, we only see part of this woven skein. Many movements across it, across those gathered threads, but now with the advantage that we can see more of those threads, more of that perspective. If we step back a bit and reflect, if we take a moment to consider and to remember, we might see more. More threads now bound up, more connections made, richer and more textured fabric within our lives and within the lives of others. We remember where we have been and how far we have come. Time and distance help us to see better. But what happens when that thread is cut? Whether over a long span or a short run, how has that greater fabric changed now? Are those careful knots we made suddenly unraveled? Or do we remain bound up with them even as we travel beyond the mismatched lengths of our lives? This is how we remember. It would be hard not to be pulled one way or another, tied closely in those moments of joy and indeed the moments of sorrow that have come into our lives. Those ties are themselves, they're not easy. They fray at times, they are strained, but they endure in many ways. Those threads, they go on, even as they are tugged about by the other threads, all the other lives that have come before and that come afterward. This life of ours, it is a marvelous organic creation that takes on its own beauty. It's unplanned, it is unrehearsed. It is a beautiful mystery unfolding across our lives, never forced, lovingly examined, but not entirely controlled. It is one way of considering this world of ours. It is, shall I call it, a holy endeavor, neither rigid nor truly abandoned by anyone, by no means careless, and hopefully cared for. Do we remember those who have touched our lives? And if so, does that remembrance spool out behind and before us? Does it echo like loving voices across a canyon, like gentle, growing ripples across a pond? And through those echoes, through those ripples, through those threads of silver and gold, do we touch something divine? I like to think so. I like to hope so. And does eternity remember us? The number of our days and the depths of our souls, who we are and what we meant to all those we grew to love and who loved us so deeply in return. Will our threads go on again, lifted up into another tapestry, one of mystery and wonder, a new course over a new span, new light being born from the darkness? I like to think so. I like to hope so. Amen. We will now have the reading of the names, and the ritual will be placing a flower in these vases. The flowers are actually in front of the pew in extraordinarily ugly yellow buckets. So rather than aesthetically offend you throughout the service, they are there, but there are flowers available. So when the name of someone who you wish to stand and place a flower for, please rise up. There will probably be a queue, but don't worry, we'll get there. And if there's two of you, there's more than one flower. So we shall begin.
The Harvard and Radcliffe Class of 1989 in memoriam. Anor Amihir Aka. Damian David Bogdan. Dean Michael Barnett. Sharon Rosalind Best. Samuel John Burke. Raul Cadena. Douglas Mark Sarasoli. Joseph Henry Seiss. Pearson Cummin IV. Michael Brandon Darby. Joel Wayne Downer. Matthew F. Drummy. Stephen S. Eilers.
Elizabeth Flax. Malaya Foreman Rogers. Pamela Bryant Gale. Andrew Tobias Gardner. Kenneth Allen Gerber. Colin Ramsey Gore. David B. Goldberg. Emily Elizabeth Greenlee. Benjamin Michael Hammond. Akiyu Hatano. Catherine Ann Heldman. Julie Cope Hilden. Susanna Gordon Honeywell. Daniel Lovett Hutchinson, Jr.
Michael Joseph Kaplan, Stefan Johannes Krieger, Deborah Lynn Levi, Javier Lopez, Chauncey Wayne Lovell, Celinda Margrave Rude, John Ross Mayer, Jerry David McDowell II, Peter Albert Meyer, Raymond Edward O'Hare, John Thomas Oj, Jack L. Orchard.
Stephen M. Livlick. Alyssa Simone Rayner McCreary. Marjorie Sue Rosenthal. John Matthew Rowe. Benjamin Lovell Sapers. Celia Savitz Strauss. Dwayne Anthony Sewell. Jung H. Shin. Alif N. Shirali. Greg A. Spira. Heidi M. V. Sullivan. Michael Edward Sullivan.
April Philippa Tash, Arnold Bradford Taylor, James Harold Vanderpool, Deep Kumar Varma, Tasha M. Vincent, Jennifer Ward Oppenheimer, Elizabeth Lee Wurtzel, Angel Yang, Thomas John Yohe.
One name seems to have been skipped. It was Kyle Oliver Prelo. I'd been very worried we'd run out of flowers. It never occurred to me that we'd run out of vase. Please rise for the reading of our prayer of remembrance. It is a responsive reading. In the rising of the sun and in its going down, in the blowing of the wind and in the chill of winter, in the opening of buds and in the rebirth of spring, in the blueness of the sky and in the warmth of summer, in the rustling of the leaves and in the beauty of autumn, in the beginning of the year and when it ends, when we are weary and in need of strength, when we are lost and sick at heart, when we have joys we yearn to share. So long as we live, they too shall live, for they are now a part of us as we remember them. Please be seated. 35 years ago, we came to learn, to study math and science, literature and the arts, philosophy and religion, and so much more. And we learned some of that, I guess, I hope. But beyond that obvious reason for attending college, we learned about each other. The wonderful and strange people gathered here from near and far. And some of them are no longer among us, but they will always be with us, always. And now we will go forth from this place to lunch, to discussions, to more times together before we depart in time. And it is good to be with you. It is good to reconnect or meet for the very first time. So let this not be goodbye then, my friends, new, old, and future, until we meet again. Amen.